Good morning, students. My history students of SS1, good morning. Long time we have not heard from each other. And I don't know what is happening, that you don't react to lessons, you don't react to homework given. No reaction. You don't even bother to call around to find out what is happening. Well, I just hope you are there because I'm here to deliver. So this morning I've come to continue making the useful noise via entertainment. And today we have to continue from where we ended. And to be precise, we shall be looking at why was there a revolution in Germany? Why did the revolution break out in Germany? And to be precise, in October 1918. Why? Now, if you look at the board, I've advanced a series of reasons as to why there was a revolution in Germany just at the close of the First World War. And remember that the First World War ended in November 1918. But before then, that is by September, October, Germany was at the brink of a revolution. Now, the question is, why was there a revolution in Germany during this period? The first reason I've advanced here talks about the war effort. The war effort. And some lessons ago, I told you that by 1918, that is 4 years fighting, the German soldiers were weary. They were already worn out. They needed replacement. And reserves were not there. So, the generals at war front, General Ludendorff and Hindenburg, advised the German government or the German population that it would be necessary for them to ask for an armistice. It would be necessary for them to end the war. You see, given the fact that the war became something else, that in their disfavor, these two generals had to do what? They started interfering in the domestic affair of Germany, abandoning their war front where they blundered, and they turned their attention back into the domestic affair of Germany. And this angered the people most. You see, they were struggling to, like a kind of a pretext, trying to divert the people's attention from the foreign affairs, from their failure at the war front to the domestic issues. And you see, at the same time, the German parliament, what they call a Riksdag. Riksdag is a German word for parliament. The parliament started asking questions about the war effort. So, the long-term cause of this revolution was due to what? Primarily, the cause of this revolution was due to weariness. The soldiers were weary, they were tired. They saw no reason to continue fighting. Supply lines become so long, that's from Central Europe right to the eastern part of Europe in Russia. To get basic necessities, drinking water, food to eat, even ammunition to be supplied, it took so much time for this thing to get to them because the war line has become so long. And given this fact, it made the war very, very disturbing. And at one point, the soldiers at war front refused to take instruction from their general. So, the Riksdag always asked for peace. That Germany should ask for peace. Germany should ask for peace from the League of Nations or from the big threes. When I talk of the big threes, I mean America, France, and Britain. But America always refused to accepting this German suing for peace until certain conditions were made before it happened. So that is the first point, war weariness. The second point, as outlined here on the board, has to do with a new government. A new government. You see, this revolution actually, was provoked by the appointment or the putting in place of a new government in Germany. The formation of this government under the newly appointed Chancellor, von Baden made matters even worse. Baden asked for the US president for an armistice, but Woodrow Wilson refused. I'm sure you know who Woodrow Wilson used to be in that period. He refused, and asking them until Germany agreed to allow true representatives of the German people for negotiation. That could be when their request for peace could be granted. That until when the German government agreed to send representatives of the German, those who represent the mind of the people, so that tomorrow it should not be as if they were forced to do that. Then that request will be granted. And on the 26th of November, the Kaiser introduced the October reforms, which transferred power to the Reichstag. When they talk of Kaiser, that word Kaiser in Germany, in English means the king. I told you of Kaiser William II, who abdicated his throne following this October revolutions. So, the next point has to do with mutiny. What do you know about what is the meaning of this word to mutiny, to mutiny? Mutiny by soldiers, mutiny by sailors. Now, mutiny is simply a situation where people like soldiers, uniform officers refuse to carry out instructions. They refuse to obey commands. Now, this one we are talking about the sailors. Who is a sailor? A sailor is like people or somebody who is always on the move in the high sea. A sailor is like the person who pilots a ship. A sailor is like those who fight the war on board the high sea. So, given the fact that the war effort had become thwarted because of weariness and whatsoever, at one time, these German sailors refused to embark on any naval attack. Because why? What was the reason? They have become so tired. So much so that those who went on leave refused to come back and resume duty because they saw the war unprofitable. They saw an unending war that yielded no dividends. So they decided to do what? To refuse instruction and even to carry out a major naval attack on the enemy's bases. They refused. That is what we call mutiny. Food was largely insufficient. They never had enough food to eat. Potable water and other things that would. So because of this, these sailors mutinied, or they refused to carry out a major onslaught, mostly to attack on the British High Sea Fleet. The British High Sea Fleet, which used to cause damage to the German fleet. An attack was plotted that the sailors should mostly destroy that British High Sea Fleet, but these soldiers or these sailors refused to do that, meaning that they had already given up. As a result, they were captured by the British High Sea Fleet, and that was why suing for peace was the alternative. To ask for peace was the last thing to be done. So, given all of this fact, the German government asked for a peace. And the last point here as to why the revolution broke out in Germany during this period was due to riot. Riot broke out across Germany. Every shade of opinion was for an overthrow of the new government. Riot across every part in Germany. And what happened at last? Kaiser William abdicated his throne. What do you mean by abdication? It simply means he escaped to an unknown destination, even though in the end, he finally discovered he took refuge in the Netherlands because of this riot, which he could not bear, because he was the one who championed the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, mostly the damaging clauses like the Article 231, the war gain clause, that talks about reparations, and limited number of soldiers to be kept by Germany. So all of this angered the people, and the whole German Republic, Germany was thrown into street riot and fighting. And because of this, when he left, the German appointed a new chancellor called Friedrich Ebert. Friedrich Ebert now was appointed after the abdication of Kaiser William. And remember, I told you, Kaiser William took the title of a Kaiser, the king, took the title of a chancellor, and even took the title of a president in Germany. So all of these things for one man who was inexperienced in political issues, who was inexperienced to even bring major reforms that could support the livelihood of the people. So when he abdicated, Germany and the German people elected or appointed a new commander or a new president that is called a chancellor, and this time it was Friedrich Ebert. Friedrich Ebert took over from Kaiser William after his abdication. So these are the few points: the war effort, new government as the Weimar Republic, mutiny by the sailors, and riots. These are the points that actually provoked the revolution. Now, the next issue under consideration this morning, my dear students, is why did Germany sign the armistice? Why this? Remember, the first topic was Germany. Why did Germany ask for an amnesty? But now we are trying to examine why he signed. Why Germany signed the amnesty? That is what we have to establish during this second part of our lectures. First reason was to avoid a revolution. To avoid a revolution. You know, revolutions were threatened, like I said, across Germany. And the new chancellor, Friedrich Ebert, was afraid that a kind of what happened in China, in Russia, the Bolshevik revolution just some few months ago. I told about the Bolshevik revolution in Russia. The Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks had a revolution which finally brought Lenin to power, who introduced communism. So the new German chancellor was scared that what happened in Russia could easily happen in Germany. So in order to avoid or to avert that situation from happening, he had to sue for peace. So he had to sign so that the temper of the people should calm down. And now a government will be formed which will bring about major reforms that will yield to the demands of the people. So that was the first reason, to avoid a revolution. The next thing now is condition in Germany. Condition in Germany during this period became so bad. It was a saga because of what? The naval blockade. Remember, I told you that the British had to create a blockade in the North Sea, meaning that no ship, be it merchant ship, be it warship, carrying goods and services or goods to Germany. So because of this naval blockade, there was scarcity of basic necessities. Scarcity of basic necessities. So this brought about what? Food rationing. At one time, the Germans had to even slaughter a horse. They had to distribute horse meat for people to eat. Basic, cereals, rice, wheat, which were imported from other countries, were largely insufficient. So this naval blockade brought tension and even provoked the revolution even more. And because of this, the Germans had to do what? Back up. They had to sign. So that when they sign this, at least this blockade could be released and goods will flow to Germany and life will return to normalcy. So that is one of the reasons. Then Wilson's 14 points. Remember, I told you that Wilson's 14 points was the basis of the Treaty of Versailles and the Paris Peace settlement. So they decided to sign, but have to benefit. After we know what were the conditions, what was the Treaty of the 14 point all about? The last of it talks about what? The formation of the League of Nations, and even the third talks about what? Freedom of navigation, meaning that this blockade So the Germans now thought that the only way to have this blockade, this removal of this blockade, was to accept to sign this treaty or this amnesty, so that they will benefit from Ludwig's 14 point. So that is equally one of the reasons. Then the fear of invasion. The fear of invasion. You see, the German generals, I mean to say, Hindenburg and Ludendorff were equally afraid. You know, they are afraid of this invasion. And that was why they agreed that they had no choice. These two generals informed the German government that they had no choice but to sign this agreement. That they had no choice but to sign, because they were at the war front and the thing was even more than them. So they were just looking for means to placate the German government to go in and sign this amnesty. And failure to sign this agreement will result in what? The destruction of the German army and the full invasion of Germany. Meaning that Germany will be attacked again the second time within 2 years. That is when the war ended finally in 1980, and up to this period, some few months. So if Germany refused to accept or to sign this agreement, the German army will be destroyed. Remember, one of the punishment adversaries was what? Limiting the German army to a size of 100,000 men, which was not even enough to maintain internal peace and security. So to avoid this situation was to sign this agreement. And then morals. The morals of the German army have been dampened by the protracted war, have been dampened by the prolonged war. You know, if you compare the morals of this army between 1914, when the war started, and 1918, those are two different things. 1914, 15, and 16, they made some gains. If you look at the Battle of Gallipoli, if you look at the Battle of Amiens, if you even look at the Battle of what? Ypres, all those battles, because the war just started and so the army were fresh and their number had not been reduced by the effect of the war. So by this period, the morals of the German army had become so shattered that we even refused to take instruction from these people. And defeat was very imminent. Defeat was assured. And probably this forced them to sign, because signing or not, they're already defeated. But signing will be a kind of a legal form to make some of these restrictions relax, so that they now can start benefiting. And then we shall look at the defeat of the Central Powers. When I talk of the Central Powers, who were they? Bulgaria was shamefully defeated at the Battle of Monastir Dwara. They were shamefully defeated. Turkey equally agreed for peace on the 10th of October 1918. Then Austria, 4 days after Turkey, Austria equally sued for peace. So the Central Powers were already defeated. Germany alone cannot fight the war. So Turkey too has already sued for peace. Who will be those to fight the war? That was the issue. So a reason as well for the signing of the amnesty. Then, what were the terms? What were the terms of the people that they signed? What were the terms? What were the points in those papers or in that paper that they signed? That is what we mean by the terms of the amnesties. 1. Germany was asked to withdraw her troops, her army from the occupied regions. When I talk about occupied regions, I think the first thing that should come to your mind should be Alsace and Lorraine. Germany was asked to withdraw her troops from these areas, and Alsace and Lorraine was one of them. And in the east, Germany was asked to do what? To withdraw her soldiers, and the boundary should be the original boundary before the war started. Remember, when the war started, Germany had already captured smaller states. So by so doing, extending her borders. So one of the agreements here is that the boundary should go back to where Germany used to occupy before the war. So that was one of the agreements. In the east, Germany should withdraw from those areas. And then the immediate surrender of equipment, that Germany should surrender all her equipment, her military equipment, her weapons, her battleship, her warship, all those things, Germany should surrender them. Then, the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk When I talk about the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, Natalia, I know you understand what I'm saying. Gabi, the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, with which country? Who signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk? Anna Ezomo, I'm talking to you, you're just looking at me. Who were those who signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk? And what were the conditions? Because they talk of what? The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk to be repudiated. Repudiated means what? To be cancelled. Germany signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk with Russia before Russia withdrew from the war. Remember I told you, before the war came to an end, Russia had withdrawn because of the revolution in Russia. So, the terms of the agreement signed between Russia and Germany, the terms were so harsh on Russia that the whole world criticized. And the time has come for Germany to pay the same, to be punished equally. So Germany was asked to repudiate or to cancel that Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, which was so harsh on Russia. She was asked to cancel it. So Germany had nothing to do but to cancel this or to repudiate, that's a historical word, this harsh Treaty of Brest-Litovsk signed with Russia, which gave Germany many territories around the eastern part of Europe. I talk of Latvia, I talk of Estonia, I talk of Lithuania, I talk of Bessarabia, and other areas that Germany had taken from Russia. So all of these things, Germany was asked to give them back to the respective owners. And remember, Germany had to withdraw her soldiers from Belgium. Germany had to give back Alsace and Lorraine. I told you this. She had to give back Alsace and Lorraine, where she had, taken and put under her court study. So, in a nutshell, my dear students, this is what we are saying. And the points are there established. You get them from your notes and keep reading. As I keep saying, I have done my work. In history, if you are going in for Cambridge, in history, my hands are clean. What I'm doing now, I'm just adding more, what nobody knows. So that better you should have many questions to make your choice than that you don't have enough questions to answer. That is why I keep teaching up to this point. And I will keep teaching you until the last day that you'll be living for your examination. So you have to read why the revolution broke out in Germany before the war came to an end. You have to look at why Germany signed the armistice. I've already given you the reasons and the terms of the armistice. There are 4 reasons. Alsace and Lorraine be given to France. Belgium be returned. Eupen and Malmedy and Moresnet. These were territories that Germany seized from Belgium. Eupen and Malmedy and Moresnet to be given to Belgium. Alsace and Lorraine be given to France. And in the east, the German borders that had been extended should come back to original position in the eastern part of Europe, that is close to Russia, and so on and so forth. So, my dear students, I'm happy you are there, and I'm happy you are following up. I've just given you homework, and that homework will be considered as part of your continuous assessment. So please do well to submit this homework on or before Monday, the 10th of May for your evaluation. Thank you for being there, and I'm happy you have understood our lesson this morning. Thank you, and God bless you.